Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about the Leeching Plate item set and about selfish tank sets in general. So tanks in ESO are expected to wear support sets that increase the entire group's damage and healing, rather than sets that increase their own survivability. That's because survivability sets in ESO tend to be rather bad, while support sets boost your group by a decent amount. And when all of your tanks and healers are using them, it really adds up. It boosts everyone's healing and prevents you from getting overrun by adds, because it increases everyone's damage. But does that mean that survivability sets should be completely discarded? Of course not. There's always some more nuance. Surviving as a tank is still your number one priority. But the reality is that selfish tank sets are frowned upon within an experienced PvE community. So as a result of this, if a new player really wants to find information about good selfish tank sets, they're only going to stumble upon casual content creators recommending random sets without any proper argumentation, other than this sounds cool or this set as a talking shield. Which is why I decided to reconstruct and test some of the most popular selfish tank sets that casual content creators recommend. So in this video, we're going to test Leeching Plate to see how helpful it actually is. And if it turns out it isn't that good, I'll show you better selfish tank sets. Let's first make sure everyone knows what Leeching Plate does. When you take damage, you summon a cloud of leeching poison under the assailant. The cloud deals 2.67% of your maximum health as poison damage, every 1 second for 5 seconds, and heals you for 100% of the damage caused. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds, so you can maintain uptime very close to 100%. With a maximum health of 44,000, which is what an average tank would usually have, Leeching Plate will scale to 1174 damage per second. We don't need to consider crit damage and crit chance here, because Leeching cannot crit. So against a single target, we should be getting 1174 of raw healing per second. Now, is 1174 health per second good or bad? Let's compare it to a staple heal over time ability every single tank has access to, Resolving Vigor. Resolving Vigor heals you for 3.87% of your max stamina or max magicka, plus 40.67% of your weapon or spell damage every second. On top of that, Resolving Vigor can crit, which is an advantage over Leeching, which cannot. So let me just plug my stats that I have in a regular dungeon tank build, except the sets are Leeching Plate, Battalion Defender, and Scorch Harvester. The reason I was doing dungeons using these sets is because, just like Leeching, they're commonly recommended selfish tank sets. So I wanted to get data about them too. But back to Resolving Vigor. In this setup, I have 18,145 max stamina, and 2,382 weapon damage. Since minor brutality is above health at all times from Ignis Shield or Stone Giant, I can bump the weapon damage to 2,620. With these stats, Resolving Vigor will heal me for 1,767 per second, roughly 50% more than Leeching Plate. But that was literally the worst case scenario for Vigor. If you add a healer doing their job properly to the equation, we get additional 430 weapon damage from Spell Power Cure, which also gets boosted by minor brutality. So we end up with 1959 healing per second. Add Major Brutality to that, which would come from your Ignis weapon, or any other DK's Ignis weapons, and we are at 2188. I could go on with stuff like Minor Courage, Powerful Assault, even Pearlescent Warden Trials, but I don't think it would be reasonable because we're talking about an environment of a new player, so you won't have all these buffs. So I feel like adding just Major Courage and Major Brutality is fair. So let's stay at 2188 per second. Now let's go back to Leeching. Is it really going to do 1174 healing per second? That's the tooltip value, but enemies have armor, which you as a tank will never fully penetrate yourself. Yes, you're bringing armor debuffs, with which your damage dealers can fully penetrate, but that's because they're bringing some penetration of their own, with stuff like light armor pieces, or gear like Velofi or Ansul. You yourself will never fully penetrate it. Of course, there are also things that will buff Leeching Plate, such as a Warden providing minor toughness buff, which would increase our max HP, and thus Leeching scaling, and there are debuffs like Major and Minor Vulnerability, which will straight up cause Leeching to do more damage and heal you for more. So let's stop talking about theorizing and move on to practice. I reconstructed a full set of Leeching Plate with proper traits and enchants. Didn't shy away from throwing money at it because I wanted the test to be honest, so all of that Leeching armor has Hakejo enchants. Then I took it into a bunch of random veteran dungeons with random people, didn't queue without premate, and I logged it all. So the average hit of Leeching Plate healed me for 1.3 thousand, while an average hit of Resolving Vigor healed me for 2.5 thousand. Both of them are bigger than the values I showed in the math because of healing received buffs, such as Minor Vitality or Burning Heart. Of course, when we look at total healing of Leeching Plate, it's much higher than Resolving Vigor, and that's because a Leeching Plate works 100% of the time, while Vigor isn't worth casting if you're not under pressure. So Leeching's healing is heavily inflated, because it heals you while you're at full HP anyway. If we turn off counting overheals, then Leeching Plate looks much worse. Without overhealing, we're only looking at actual healing done, so your HP had to drop, and Leeching had to heal it up. And now, it shows 378 healing per second, far below the damage shields. And that is probably the best case scenario because I was looking at all fights in that lock. All 3 dungeons, both trash and bosses. But here's the next argument against Leeching. Leeching works best against multiple enemies, so it works best in trash. Except trash packs in ESO are extremely easy compared to bosses. I'm not trying to say they should be easy for everyone because everyone plays at a different level. But compared to bosses in the same dungeon, on the same difficulty, they are trivial. If you've defeated a boss, you'll be blasting effortlessly through trash packs in the same dungeon. So this 400 average healing per second isn't worth sacrificing a 5-piece slot. Even if you do want a selfish set, Leeching just isn't the best option. So what should you use instead? I'll show you 3 options. First one is Wretched Vitality, a very popular PvP set, and if you're going for survivability, as a tank, I've learned that looking at what PvPers are doing is a good starting point. Wretched Vitality works very well in both PvP and in PvE tanking. The 5-piece bonus grants you 390 of stamina and magic recoveries, which are trivially easy to keep up. And if we count in the 2 and 3-piece bonuses, we're getting 519 of stamina and magic recoveries, which is an absolutely insane sustain boost that will give you a lot more room for mistakes while you learn tanking. And it's crafted so you can get it instantly in the exact weights and traits you want. Next one is Central Defender, an overland set from Southern Elsewhere. Light attacking grants you stacks of Central's Duty, which get consumed after your heavy attack, to grant you 757 stamina and magicka per stack. It's an insane amount of resources, and it also reinforces good habits, because it teaches you to heavy attack. And last one is Fortified Brass, a crafted set. Fortified Brass grants you 6434 armor in total, and armor is your first line of defense. It's the best way of reducing your damage taken, because of increasing returns. Each next point of armor is stronger than the previous one, and that's exactly the reason why it even needs a cap in the first place, which is 33,000. Usefulness of this set will depend on how much armor you had before, because 6434 will be an overkill in most cases. For example, if you're an old player who already has some experience playing as a DD or a healer, then you most likely have the money to gold out your gear, and you'll have decent amount of armor from that already. But a player who is new to ESO entirely will not. They might use blue or purple quality gear, and that's where Fortified Brass can come in useful. Just to give you an example, if you're at 26,600 armor, then putting on Fortified Brass, which puts you at armor cap, will cause you to take 16.2% less damage. That's a massive amount of mitigation, and it for sure will feel more impactful than the healing you'd get from Leeching Plate. In the end, I wanna say that Leeching Plate still turned out better than I expected, but it doesn't compare to proper selfish sets. As I said before, I also reconstructed Battalion Defender and Scourge Harvester, as these are other commonly recommended new player sets, and they performed far below Leeching. Like, they're proper garbage. So I'm definitely gonna be making videos about these two. But I wanted Leeching to be first, because it's the signature set of casual builds. And that's it for this video. If you have any more questions, you can comment down below, or join our Discord server Wildheart. As always, feedback will be appreciated. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my Twitch. Thanks for watching and see you next time.